dear friends, I've got a problem that you might help me solve. How is it possible to love so much and then to say goodbye? How can it be? I got an older sister, just 3 years older than me. Just the two of us, 2 children. And when we were little, I remember my sister asking my mother which of us she loved best. And my mother answered, if I could, I'd cut myself in 3 pieces. 1 for you, 1 for Johnny, that's me, and 1 for my father. Three equal pieces. Now, dears, when I look at you, I would, just like that, cut myself in 20 pieces, 1 for each of you. I really would. In fact, I'd really give all of me to each of you, but then what about the other 19? And then what about all the other people? Mm-hmm. And the cows, and the hens, and bits of grass. And the funny thing is, that even while I tell you this, there isn't even the shadow of a thought about what's in it for me. It just completely dropped out of the picture. You don't even think of a return. Marvelous, isn't it? Love is pure forgiveness. But here, apparently, we're all going to go off and there'll be tears in our eyes, won't there? I have a picture in my mind. I told you a bit about Russia. Russia's unbelievably big. If you get in a train in Moscow and want to go to the other end of the country, it takes about 8 or 9 days to get there, day and night in a train. And about halfway across that immense space, there's a town called Omsk, Siberia, where my mother was born. And I've been there a couple of times. It's a bit like, it was a sort of an American Dodge City, where they built settlements when they were fighting the Red Indians in the early days of pioneering in America. Well, the same thing happened in Russia. Instead of the Red Indians, they had the Mongols, the nomadic Mongol tribes, who were sort of conflicting with the spreading influence of Russia. So Omsk was a sort of frontier town there. And my granddad was a military officer in the garrison there. That's where Mum was born. Anyway, I went there. And on Omsk railway station, I remember watching a woman saying goodbye to her soldier son, who was going off on the train. And with those unbelievable distances, when you wave goodbye to a young man on the train, you wonder whether you'll ever see him again. And indeed this mother must have felt that, because as the train started and gathering speed, she, after clinging to her boy, she ran alongside the train. Until, of course, the train went faster than her poor old legs could go. And then I saw the look on her face as she collapsed in tears. How is such love possible that it ends in this world? We talked, didn't we, yesterday about reality, I suppose. I can't quite remember how we approached the subject, but we were talking about what is real. What is it that goes away and says goodbye? And what is it that stays in our hearts forever? What is eternal? That which we long for, the love that doesn't say no, doesn't say goodbye, doesn't leave us alone. The love that is reliable, that you can trust. Love forever, true love. I love the definition of truth as that which doesn't change. So true love is unchanging. Through all the vicissitudes of life, true love is an ever-fixed mark. It doesn't change. Isn't that what we all long for? To love and be loved in that eternal reassurance that no matter how many mistakes we make, or no matter what stupid things we say, somehow this love loves eternally, unshakable. Even though it apparently disappears from view, once more we're left alone. Like that poor woman going back to an empty flat without her boy. What does she do? She turns to some little icon, maybe some little picture she has of the cross, of the Holy Mother Mary, who lost her boy, didn't she? And take comfort that what was apparently lost in this world reappeared as spirit. Invisibly, of course. But the more we become acquainted with spirit, somehow the reality of it grows. And eventually, maybe I think as I've found, it's taken most of my life when actually spirit is more real than the visible. The unseen is more real than the seen. The silence is more real than the sound. It's hard to believe, isn't it? But that is what happens, I find. That somehow, even just looking at you now, the reality of this pure love, this unchanging love, is somehow more real than these bodies, which seem more like almost like the packaging, the packaging around it, which we know is going to be taken off. Someone gave me a little box of chocolates the other day, and I was looking at it this morning, of course, a beautiful package, all beautifully designed. And I opened this, and of course there's the chocolates inside. And yet even those chocolates are going to be put into my mouth and they'll just melt away, won't they? They'll no longer be there. And yet they're sort of the sweetness, even if they're not the sweetness on my tongue, the sweetness of the gift itself. And so we move from the outer to the inner, from the visible and the transitory to the invisible and the eternal. And little by little, through many, many, many differing experiences, we are gradually led from the transitory to the eternal. And the more we look at life, not so much through the eyes of flesh. You see, the eyes of flesh see flesh, don't they? Obviously. And yet the eyes of the heart see heart. And the eyes of spirit see spirit. So as we gradually let go, we gradually lessen our dependence on the outer and visible and rely more and more on the invisible and eternal. And there is the comfort. As Jesus called the Spirit, is the comforter. And see, in the process, this fallible, transitory thing called John, me, is just, it's just, you naturally grow out of it, that's right. You don't get rid of it or anything sort of rough like that. It's the gentlest, sweetest process in the world. You just naturally grow up. There's not one tiny thing in this entire spiritual journey that's unkind or other than pure goodness. It truly is the great love drawing our little infantile baby love to itself. And the trials we go through in life are nothing but the preparation, you see. The preparation for diminishing our dependence on this and growing into the maturity of that, however difficult it may seem at the time. Like little children, we cry when our toys are taken away. How can anything happen in this world under that divine protection, divine providence? I mean, how can anything happen otherwise than under that divine providence? So it's said that all things happen for the best for those who love God. And even at the time it seems impossible. Looking back, it's extraordinary how one can see the apparent trials of life were actually turned out for the best. For us little children, who of course always think they know better, don't they? Just like we do. So dear, the sadness at parting is but what should we call it? is given us to teach us, you see, to connect more realistically with the love that doesn't ever say goodbye, but remains with us always. Just as Jesus said to us in his last words, I'm with you always. That's the truth of it, isn't it? And incidentally, talk about wanting to cut myself into lots of little pieces and give myself to you. And the thought comes to me that, that all those books on the table there are just that, because really there is the story of my life. It's not given to you because you've got to pay for it. You've got to buy new books, but that really is the impulse, isn't it, in all of us? I'm sure who long to express ourselves and our souls in one way or another, even if we don't know how to. It is this wish to lay one's jewels, to be shared by others. And you can't compel it, of course, but the hope is that to some extent there's someone who wants to share it. I often think when you're walking up on the hills, as I used to do a lot, and you'd come across some little flower grows, in some unknown cleft in the rock. Probably no one looks at it from birth. Maybe a sheep will eat it, or maybe not. But although unnoticed by men, of course the fairies and the angels would see it, wouldn't they, and love it. So nothing is really, no flowers unnoticed. Even our own flowers, although the world may seem to take no notice, there are other beings in the unseen world that know what goes on. Oh love, I sighed an age ago at women passing to and fro, as some bore fruit, some more, some less, of misery or happiness. But now I sigh relief, O Lord, the time has come to meditate, and never doubt the full accord of total love reciprocate, nor fail to find the perfect truth I longed and searched for in my youth. Head up and ears erect, a good long stretch, the lamb's doing well. Head down beneath the ewe, a shaking tail means milk is getting through. March wind and sun, first coltsfoot flowers, a sky half blue. An impulse comes to recollect, remember you. Entrusts the word, entrust the year with all that comes to God's good care. Entrusting you, I cannot do anything more potent to ensure the best for all, ensure the best of all for all, and so complete my simple prayer. Then joy's release itself repents last vestiges of what prevents each step in trust to climb the hill, and pause outside the church, be still. So insignificant and small, there's nothing left with all, but trust to God's perfecting call. perfected as the gentle rain and morning chorus, spring again. How does one pray? The question makes me smile. How do swimmers speak to water? River watchers pause a while to ponder what they ought to do. How does one stroke a dog or contemplate a well-loved view? Receive a blessing from the sun, relax with gratitude, work done. Why spoil an honest day with doubt when common sense would keep it out? Is God not present here and now, accessible to fools and children who have not begun to question how? Don't try to solve the world, my dear. Stay innocent. Beware of those who complicate your prayer. When live performance loses charm, its forces fail, desires disarm, temptation fades away. It's such release with action over, duty done, the error of our ways outrun, to rest in peace. And understand firsthand just how life emanates and then withdraws itself back to its primal cause. Does God exist, we ask, out there in separate existence where, attached we cannot bear, surrendering allegiance to one Lord of all in presence here? Nonetheless, from far away, skeptics debate, believers pray until we can't escape the fact that, willy-nilly, I am that. Do you know what comes to my mind, my dear Chris? When I first produced my first one or two books, no, it was before this really, but just go out into a busy street and just stand there in the street and feel your feet on the ground, dear, and listen and look. Listen to all the lost people, all walking along like bananas, with their agenda in their heads, not present at all. Just watch it and listen to all the noise from stillness, and hold the whole thing in complete stillness. The busier the street, the better. And then for a few years I used to sit with my book or two in the market and just watch it all swirling around me. Occasionally somebody would stop and have a look, have a word. Most people just walked past, ignored me. But just to sit there or stand and just be still. Then you begin to realize that it's possible. You don't worry about it any longer. All the aggro, the tension, I don't like towns, noises bother me, all just fades out, my dear. You've got something better. See, we can't change the world. It's hopeless trying to enter into conflict with the world. You see, this naughty little something that nobody understands, called the devil, you see, is out to get you, Chris. It sees you're a good man and that you're wanting to be free. You're working. So, you see, he sends you his traps, his snares. I love all these, the medieval way that the devil was presented, as a little black monster who sends these tricks out to catch us. Because it really is like this. I know it's all politically incorrect to talk like this these days, but spiritually speaking, it's calling a spade a spade. It's what we've got to deal with. This is the problem. This is where it comes from. And the more you progress towards the light, the more the darkness will pull you back. This is how it is, my dears. The more blessed you are in one way, the more cursed you are in another. So that's why it's rough. You've got to be brave, be strong, take courage on this path. If you want to be enlightened, my dear, you'll have to deal with an awful lot of darkness in your life. You read my books, see what I've struggled with. So, if this has helped you overcome trial number 1 or trial number 2 or trial number 100, you've still got another 1,000 to come. But the same principle will help you through. See, we can't get rid of these things. They're there, they're just a fact of life. But you can use them as a sort of, so we can't, this trying to exclude them is hopeless. Even if you draw the curtains and put earplugs in it, you don't deal with it, because if it's not outer noise, it's inner noise. But you can use these things as a sort of springboard. You know what I mean? You step on it, so just use it, dear, include it totally, embrace the noise, and then just use it to go beyond. It's like you're taking a step, and you step beyond. One of the best words in meditation is beyond. Whatever comes into our heads, don't try to get rid of it, don't fight it, don't worry about it. Just go beyond. There's always a beyond. Beyond the furthest star, there's a beyond, isn't there? And we're called to the infinite beyond. That's why the journey never ends. It just gets better and better. So learn to use these things to our advantage. And if you can observe your irritation with this noise, then use that irritation also. So go beyond your irritation, step into the beyond. I mean, you can smile at it, it was just a childish reaction. And then when other people come to you bothered about this, you've got the experience to help them too, haven't you? There's absolutely no space in this work for enmity or opposition of any kind. All thoughts that are getting rid of, all these unkind thoughts, there's no violence whatsoever in this work.